Ask Reddit. Brits of Reddit, now that it's been a few years, has Brexit been a success? Why or why not?
Brexit destroyed my online business. I got a lot of orders from Europe. Brexit went through. Now they have to pay import fees that they never had to pay before. And then eventually, value-added tax that they never had to pay before. They didn't want to pay all of that extra stuff, so they stopped ordering. My sales went down, down, down until I had to close my shops.
Brexit has increased queues for Brits at airports in Europe, as we must now be subject to additional checks and have our passports stamped. It has also limited stays to 90 days and 180, reduced opportunities for people from England, Scotland, and Wales to live, work, study, and retire freely across our own continent. Northern Irish citizens retain these benefits since they can apply for an Irish passport. Contributed to labor shortages in key industries such as hospitality, farming, health and social care, despite record levels of immigration from the rest of the world. Added administrative bureaucracy for importers and exporters, widening our trade deficit and reducing business investment and foreign direct investment. For any Brit who wishes to live in the European Union, work in the European Union, study in the European Union, travel for longer than 90 days in the European Union, export to the European Union, import from the European Union. Things are definitely, objectively worse.
Brexit was probably the biggest influence on why my business ultimately failed. Goods and supplies I needed became incredibly expensive to acquire from the European Union. In some cases, my suppliers stopped shipping to the United Kingdom altogether. And for me to ship my goods in the other direction into the European Union, it became more expensive and complicated to deal with. I lost a massive chunk of business and all of the convenience of trading in the European Union overnight. So in my eyes, Brexit is a complete failure.
One of the reasons people voted for Brexit was to stop immigration. Last year we had 700,000 net migration. Doesn't sound like a great success to me.
Brexit assisted with the downfall of my business, so if you ask me, no.
In terms of actual impact on a normal person, all Brexit has done for me is makes it more expensive or difficult to buy things from Europe. Lots of places now won't even do United Kingdom shipping. Makes it more difficult to travel to Europe. In my jobs in the hospital lab, we had a big old commotion because all our equipment is provided by Roche, which is a Swiss company, and all the stuff we buy has to move through Europe. There was a brief period where a warehouse moved that caused us to be unable to provide blood tests for anything but the most urgent cases. There was additional hassle with German companies over import taxes and such that caused us a shortage of other materials. All sorted now, but it was a tense few months. At the university lab, in addition to above difficulties with suppliers, getting kicked out of the European Union's Horizons program lopped a huge amount of funding out from British science. Numbers of European Union students have also dropped. So now because of the drop in funding, our financial department is cracking down hard. This leads to ridiculous situations like having to go get 3 alternative quotes for a piece of machinery that is only manufactured by a single company, even when your grant is specifically for that machine.
Depends those who voted for Brexit to reduce immigration are disappointed that it has only deterred European Union migrants who are mostly white and nominally Christian, and that migration from other places has been unaffected. Those who voted for Brexit because they believe the side of a bus that said there would be more money for the National Health Service are disappointed to see much more money than that wasted by Truss and Kwarteng, or siphoned off to give to politicians and their cronies. Those who voted for Brexit because of Brussels bureaucrats were never able to properly explain what they meant by that anyway. Then there are those like that man from Wetherspoons who supported Brexit for reasons known only to himself and has seen his business hit by the lack of cheap European labor. They aren't particularly happy. but those who promoted and voted for Brexit to dodge European measures against tax avoidance, or because they saw opportunities to get rich at the expense of the British taxpayer. Well, some of those ones are happy.
Migration from other places has greatly increased. Legal migration has trebled and illegal migration is up 10 times. Our withdrawal from the Dublin Convention has meant that we can no longer return illegal migrants to the last European Union country they passed through.
I think it says a lot that Farage, Johnson, and others aren't shouting about how they made it happen anymore.
Speaking as someone from Northern Ireland, Brexit has done two good things for us. The Windsor Framework keeps us under some of the European Union rules and allows us to trade in both the United Kingdom and European Union markets, which makes us a prime spot for investment. It has also sped up the talk of a united Ireland as well.
Not a Brit, but I would say it's been an unmitigated success. We used to have so many debates about leaving the European Union in my country, Denmark, and general dissatisfaction with the European Union. Post-Brexit, all debates have stopped, and the country has unified much more around the ideas of the European Union. Even the most anti-European Union parties no longer openly talk about leaving the European Union. So to all Brits, the rest of the European Union thanks you for doing the experiment.
Everyone I know who voted for Brexit now claims: 1. The information about what would happen wasn't available. It was. 2. They were lied to. Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage are, and always have been, incapable of honesty. Look how many people close to both of them have said so. 3. It wasn't done properly. What they wanted would never have been legal or feasible.
Brexit is a failure and should never have gone through. There should have been contingencies in place as it was such a close vote. Being in Northern Ireland, I've just been refused free biscuits with a business purchase. As sorry we can only send them to the mainland on the parcel. I can buy the same biscuits in Asda. Considering we are meant to have the best of both United Kingdom and European Union, it's a nightmare getting companies to send to us. Perhaps it's just the industry I'm in, but the whole thing is nonsense.
It's been an absolute disaster. Pretty much no tangible benefits. Plenty of tangible drawbacks. It was always based on lies and deceit. Anyone telling you otherwise is a liar or a fool.
Hard to know whether or not. Brexit has been a success, given those who voted for it have never been able to articulate exactly what it was meant to achieve. I guess we will never know.
Destroyed my business and my job. So no thanks, Brexit.
It is like a long road trip with a lot of wrong turns and an empty gas tank.
Not from the United Kingdom, but from the European Union. I work in a logistics company. A lot of our customers who used to ship or buy a lot from the United Kingdom stopped doing so because it's a pain in the ass to do, customs-wise.
It's been the disaster the experts predicted it would be. I thankfully escaped the situation before it really bit, but the business my company used to do with the European Union is now gone. I will never forgive the people voting for Brexit. I'll never let any Brexit voter play it down. It's a disaster.
It has resulted in an increase in the number of non-European Union immigrants, which infuriates the bigots who voted for Brexit expecting the opposite.
Nay, mate, it's been shite.
If it had been a success, why haven't any of the right-wing parties campaigned bragging about its successes?
Not really, mate, just more queues and confusion.
I was born in England, but I have spent the majority of my adult life living abroad. So I was born in England, but I was mostly made in Europe. I saw what the United Kingdom was about to do to itself, and I thought, no way will they fall for this. No way will they be pig-headed enough, stupid enough, arrogant enough, or deluded enough to actually shoot themselves in both feet. But then I looked at who the architects of Brexit were. The opportunists, the dodgy dealers trying desperately to avoid having their tax loopholes closed, trying hard not to be held accountable, and the grubby financiers, yeah, I'm looking at you, crisp and odious, you vile sexual abuser who just wanted to make money from shorting the pound. And I thought, Surely the British are not stupid enough to think these poor excuses for humans are their friends. Surely they don't think these grubby bottom feeders actually represent them? But they did shoot themselves in both feet, and COVID looked like it was going to cover up the damage that's been done, for a while. But now the debt is due, and a different party is in power. So guess who will get the blame when the money runs out? 17 million idiots, most of whom quite vocally outed themselves as idiots. It's quite handy knowing who all of the very stupid, dishonest people are, but the damage is done regardless. Not just to the United Kingdom's prospects, but to the reputations of its people. They were told by everyone in the entire world, but they wouldn't listen. They were told that Farage and company were lying to them. They wouldn't listen. World leaders told them, the International Monetary Fund told them, all the people who have spent their lifetime studying economics and politics told them, but they still thought they knew best. That's prescription-level arrogance and mental asylum-worthy levels of mental illness. Brexit doesn't affect me because I have dual citizenship. I have property abroad, including in Europe. I have enough money to weather the effects, and I have friends in Europe who know I'm not one of the turkeys who voted for Christmas. I'm not worried about me or mine, but I am deeply concerned for the innocent 16 million plus who didn't vote for this colossal stupidity.
It was a disaster for the man who called the referendum, David Cameron. He only called it in an attempt to keep the Tory party together and try to appease the United Kingdom Independence Party. Now look where that got his beloved party, completely wiped out. At least he got made a lord out of it eventually. So it's not all a loss for poor Dave.
Nope. There are a vocal minority who won't be happy until we pull up the island by its root and drift off into the North Atlantic, leaving Ireland behind to make excuses for us.
It's had no upside at all for the common working person. Maybe if you are already very, very rich, you got something out of it. Maybe. But the main point I want to make here is how difficult it is to translate from English in the United Kingdom to English in the United States. How the Brexit vote was a swan song for baby boomers who had grown up being indoctrinated from birth about how Britain is the greatest empire ever to grace the world, and their voting for Brexit was, to their mind, a defiant assertion that we yet remain the world's arbiter of sovereignty and are superior to the European Union. Again, it is for all practical purposes impossible to translate this. The closest I can get is that we have a large mass of people with deeply deranged ideas about Britain's place in the world, and they won the day, but only just.
Brexit made me realize how racist and terrible the people I live near are. I'm in the Southwest. My mother is French, and people asked after Brexit when she was going back to her country. She's been in England longer than she's been in France. Learning that the people you live near are so racist and xenophobic is such an odd thing. Not to mention, because of this, I can't have my partner move to England. It genuinely ruined a lot of future plans I had, and I'm one of the lucky ones due to having dual citizenship with France. But of everything we were promised if we left the European Union, none of that came true. So no, it hasn't been a success. It's been terrible. It still is terrible.
Obviously, if you are asking on Reddit, you are going to have people tell you Brexit failed. If you were actually to ask a non-biased person from the United Kingdom, they would tell you the real truth. Brexit harmed the United Kingdom's economy every day for the past 4.5 years.
Breaks down crying.
Not British, but I can't believe a majority of British people voluntarily gave up the ability to live and work all around the European Union. So many people would give their left testicle for that ability.
It's a bit like trying to fix a leaky pipe with duct tape. Results are mixed and we're all waiting to see if it holds.
Great success. I moved country 6 years ago and became a Swedish citizen yesterday. Forget Brexit, I'm never going back.
No. What Brexit supporters never understood was that the European Union was not holding them back. They seemed to feel like the European Union was something that Britain did a lot for and gave a lot to, without getting anything back. because European Union laws superseded United Kingdom laws. The United Kingdom voluntarily allowed this. An Act of Parliament had made the European Union sovereign, and an Act of Parliament could undo it. The United Kingdom did not join the Euro, which meant that decisions that concerned the United Kingdom were apparently handled by Brussels bureaucrats. In fact, the European Union has such democratic unity that it is unlikely that any of its laws would ever be that much of a problem for any member state anyway. Also, as an economic union, the point is that these countries join together to maintain and improve economies and trade. It is supposed to support member states. As all states have the same laws, it makes it less complicated for businesses. The waits afterwards were terrible because the extra checks increased travel times. States from outside the Union had added tariff costs for trading with it, which the United Kingdom now has. As a result, the economy has been negatively affected. How much so is yet to be seen. Nearly every economic expert agrees. Most people who voted for Brexit did not think about the business side or legal side, but instead cultural issues like sovereignty and immigration, which did not actually matter. It is true, within the European Union, citizens can move to other countries easily. So getting rid of the European Union means we lose European Union citizens as immigrants. Also, the refugee crisis caused by Syria in 2015, when thousands of Syrian refugees were drowning in the Mediterranean trying to get into Europe, had some people nervous that the European Union would pressure member states to take a lot of them. But immigration in general is only indirectly affected by Brexit. And really, these people should have just voted for less immigration, but thought about other issues when it came to Brexit. I don't think the European Union affected sovereignty much because it is usually trade laws to make things easier. It's only small things that I would say. The European Union gets wrong, but usually countries are able to ignore this. It is only supposed to support everything, like, for instance, clamp down on tax avoidance and unfairness. It's still hard to avoid the European Union these days anyway.
A lot of people in high-up tech jobs up and left for North America for better pay, and I was one of them. So it's been a success for me by forcing me out that shithole of a country where I was born. The pound, dropping with all the other stuff after two, allowed me to pay off my student loans fast and cheap as well. For the country? No, it's been a disaster.
It has objectively been an unmitigated disaster.
It made my French wife want to return home within the withdrawal agreement deadline. I am now stuck in France. Send help.
Fuck no on every single count.
I was happily living and working in Spain when the Brexit vote happened. Now I'm back in England, working in a shattered and starved National Health Service, wishing fervently that I was back in Madrid. And this was all just a nasty dream brought on by a late dinner.
Okay, so imagine you're at a party. You don't like the music, so you speak to the host and decide that in a couple of songs, they'll play something you like. Now imagine that instead, you decide to leave. You go to your house next door. You can still hear the music, but because you left, you have no influence over what is played. That's Brexit. The same things are happening, it's just you now can't influence a decision at all because the United Kingdom no longer sits at that table. Nigel Farage is a traitor. He still has European citizenship. His wife is German. Alexander Boris de Pfeffel Johnson wasn't even born in the United Kingdom, and he has also managed to retain multinational citizenship. It's the rest of us that have been left to deal with the consequences.
In the end, they are still subject to European Union rules and regulations, because the European Union is a much larger market, so products are made to be European Union compliant. For example, the type of caps on soda with the leash to the bottle is a European Union regulation, but soda in England is sold with them too now. England no longer gets a voice at the table to change, block, or introduce regulations for the European Union as an outsider. So they gave away power with nothing to show for it.
Well, I'm from Scotland. We as a country voted to stay in the European Union, but instead got handcuffed to and dragged out by an insane England. But despite that, it's been an amazing opportunity for the very rich and powerful. But everyone else? Not so much. I don't think the United Kingdom has ever been less globally relevant. Even the people who voted to leave aren't happy because, shockingly, leaving didn't actually solve any of their problems.
I moved to Norway shortly after and feel the effects every day. I'm seriously burnt out in my job, but my visa is restrictive. I'm only allowed to work in a very specific niche role, or I have to reapply. There's only so long I'm allowed out of work if I wanted to retrain. I don't have nearly the same freedoms as my European Union friends and colleagues. It's a shame because I love this country and would love to stay, but will probably end up moving back soon. The exit of the United Kingdom from the European Union has dramatically affected my entire future, likely who I marry, and therefore who my kids are, my career, and where I live. Pretty much everything. I imagine there are similar stories from lots of other United Kingdom nationals who wanted to live abroad.
Still waiting for those benefits they promised. We're going to give $350 million to the National Health Service. Okay then, why is the National Health Service still in crisis? Why are so many of the people that actually work within it constantly going on strike? Oh, because that money was never going to go to the National Health Service. It was going to go to Boris, Mickey, and Nigel's rich buddies.
Personally, my online sales to the European Union dried up overnight. So I instantly lost 30 to 40% of my business that had taken me years to build up, and everyone I know in this business had the same happen to them. I know lots of United Kingdom-based businesses who moved portions of their business to countries in the European Union to hold on to their customers. This meant downsizing their United Kingdom operations. Because of COVID and Ukraine, they have managed to deflect from the damage to our economy this terrible decision has made. The people who masterminded it have disappeared from the scene of the crime, and nobody seems interested in holding them to account. This is such a toxic issue that has poisoned our political landscape. The media and our politicians are scared to even mention it. It has made our standing in the world poorer and has only played into the hands of powers that want to see the United Kingdom and European Union weaker. There were genuine concerns about our European Union membership and how accountable the organization was, but the vote and campaign was not fought on that. The Leave campaign lied through their teeth that nothing would change and we would still be able to trade and work freely in the European Union. They were happy to stir up hatred of immigrants, especially ones of color, conveniently forgetting that those were not coming from the European Union. Not all individuals who supported leaving the European Union were racist, but most of the racists were individuals who supported leaving the European Union.
I'm sorry, but there seems to be an issue with the text you provided. It appears to be undefined. Please provide a specific text for me to edit.
Thank you for listening. Remember to subscribe to Monumental Stories for new videos every day.